You should have all heard a little note that said that was starting. This is Glenn Lyvers with Prolific Press. This is the October poetry reading event, and we're going to start things off with Lynette Esposito.
All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm going to reread one I read last time because my audio wasn't very good. It's called The Blue Stone. The blue stone hides what you once were, like the smile that masks my face. I entombed in life, and you in eternal grace. That's it. And this is a poem I've been working on for 10 years. They always ask, how long does it take you to write a poem? And if you count the thinking time, we don't even know how to answer. It's called The Shepherd's Garden. It is the safety of the garden that I seek, where flowers are not condemned to death, but grow with the gardener's touch of light. Though those who gently sift the soil before the night rework soft granules of dark for bulbs to bloom, chant, grow with the gardener's touch of light. Because the hope of growth is bright, these frail fingers might have let the feral ground lay waste, yet flowers grow with the gardener's touch of light. Though we seek the solace of the sun's sweet height, like petals turning toward a higher power in the day, we grow with the gardener's touch of light. It is not a funeral's plot we cite, astounded by color of so much life from simple clay. We hear the edict, grow with the gardener's touch of light. And we, like stems set on this glorious test of might, give thanks for celestial tears that quench the needy thirst. For in the safety of the garden, all grow with the gardener's touch of light.
Beautiful. I'm just going to pause for a minute while we allow Patrice Wilson to sneak in and sit down. Good cadence in that poem. Actually, quite nice. I can see why you keep going back and editing it. There's a lot of places it could go.
Yeah, well.
Do you feel like you're pulling in on it a lot and pulling it back a little so it doesn't run away?
Well, it's kind of a makeshift sestina / villanelle, but the cadence isn't 100%. And that's what bothers me about it. And some of the words in there don't seem 100%. But as we all know as poets, we don't get 100% usually.
Not usually.
Takes a lot of time.
It's that old adage that poems are never finished, they're simply abandoned. Okay, we're going to move on to a special guest, Charlene Guth, who is Lynette Esposito's daughter. She snuck in here last time, some of you might remember, but the audio wasn't quite up to par. So go ahead and read your piece, Charlene. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for letting me come back due to our technical difficulties last time. So the poem I'm going to read is called Death One Day. She had 3 rolls of paper towels, 6 rolls of toilet paper, and 2 bars of unused soap the day she died. She had a half-eaten yogurt, blueberry, still in the fridge, along with a quarter of a jar of strawberry jam that she liked to spread on toast with a cup of Earl Grey. She had just bought a blouse, still with tags, hanging in the closet like a deflated ghost, unwarmed by skin. The toothpaste, only open 2 days, had its last squeeze that morning. And 1 week, all of these items swept away, donated, used by others. The home sold, painted, and repaired, and shaped by others' dreams, thoughts, and morning awakenings. Physical echoes silenced, momentum absorbed in stone.
Thank you. Very nice. And that was just you were just going to read one today, right?
Yes.
Oh, there's so much power in these poems when you remember someone who's passed on and in the things that they left behind. I tried to write a poem about after my mother died, her dog just kept looking for her, and it was so sad. It would just rip your heart out. And there's this lingering, these little traces of things left behind. I think you captured that very well. So excellent job with that one. I liked it very much. Okay, Leonard Lund.
Okay, greetings from the Chicago area. I'm going to read a piece that made it into the latest issue of Poetry Quarterly to start with. North Pacific. Imagine myself a glass fishing float, wrapped in parts of nets and drifting from Japan to land near Oregon, calmed and store-tossed endlessly. And for the second piece, one that didn't make the cut, and that's okay, because that's why there are different listeners for different poems. 3 incongruities. 1, a sense of something in my heart, an incomplete run-on sentence designed to haunt my hours. 2, the love-torn storefronts in a photograph, always pulled from a fire too soon, afraid to not be remembered later. 3, a sense of something leaving my heart and letting the door hang open to let the cold darkness in. Nota bene. Disorder these however you wish. It will all look different later, so many, many times. Thank you.
Thank you. It's something we should all remember as poets, is sometimes when a poem doesn't make it in, it might not be because it's not a great poem. Sometimes there are page counts that you're up against. There are simply a lot of really great poems or a specific flavor for that issue. Maybe it doesn't mesh well. A lot of things to consider in putting together a journal. That was a fine poem, and I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you. I've been writing for publication since 1965, and I learned real early not to be too upset about people. No thanks, not this time. There are a million reasons why they will, and there are a million other people who will say, yeah, we'll take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I every once in a while, that doesn't happen very often. You might think it happens a lot for an editor that goes through so many poems as I do, but I very rarely get any negative backlash. But every once in a while, somebody will really let me have it, because they didn't make it in. That's all part of it. People learn as they go, and they're new. Okay, John McCullough. McMullen. I'm sorry, John.
Okay. The last year, I did a Halloween chapbook that Local Gems Press published, and it's a Halloween thing. Nightmare. I got into bed very tired and my mind ready for a deep sleep. Soon I was in the midst of a bizarre world of sickness, poverty, and sadness. Widespread deaths, fighting in the streets, total misery in the land. Then I finished reviewing the day and exhausted, drifted off to sleep. And then some of the talk here about endings and finding it made me go to a poem that's in something that I just had published, collected poems, and it was published by Scars Publications. A poem with an ending. Philip Levine wrote a poem, a rather long poem, a poem with no ending. It was published in the Paris Review and the Pushcart Book of Poetry, where I read it. It is, in my judgment, a very good poem, and I recommend it. The title got me thinking. Everything that we know in this world has an ending. In this world is a gratuity to my co-religionists. Life is a poem with with irregular meter, strong, soft, and profane language, infused with deep felt emotion, and it evolves to become the story of our existence. And the end, the last line, is death. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, you are the poet laureate for Ithaca, is that right? Or forgive me, I'm right off the
Yorktown. It's a
Yorktown.
36,000 citizen town in Upper Westchester, New York.
Did they put you to work and give you an activity for the Halloween season?
Well, they put me to work in that, and of course it is. But most of these things, it's a non-paid position that keeps me busier than when I used to have a real job. I have to read a poem every 2 weeks at the town board meeting, and I also have a poetry workshop that runs at the local library. And the one good thing about Zoom is, as I bring guest poets in from all over the country to work with the people in the workshop. But I will read one of the Halloween poems from the book this Tuesday.
Oh, well, that's really nice. That sounds like a lot of fun too. Okay, I try to get Mary Gunn in early because she is phoning in all the way from Ireland, and I'm always terrified that we're going to lose her connection. Mary, are you ready?
Yes, thanks, Glenn. I have a 6-line acrostic poem about Halloween. And just before I read the poem, could I just say that in the last few days, I was listening to a talk on Irish folklore, and I came across something I hadn't known when I was writing the poem. In the poem, I mentioned turnips and pumpkins. Now, Americans might not be too familiar with carving turnips, but when I was growing up, we always carved turnips at Halloween because we didn't have pumpkins in Ireland. So you carved holes, you scooped out the inside of a raw turnip, made holes for the eyes and the mouth, and then you put a lighted candle inside to make it spooky. And what I learned from listening to a talk on folklore was that apparently it was the Irish emigrants who brought the idea of carving turnips to America. And when they got to America, they discovered that pumpkins were much easier to carve than turnips. So then pumpkins became the thing to carve. So I don't know if that's news to you. It was certainly news to me.
It's news to me. I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, I was listening to a talk on Zoom a couple of days ago, which I would never have got to do if there hadn't been the pandemic. Anyway, here is my poem. It's called Halloween, but the acrostic part of it spells autumn. Okay. All deciduous leaves are falling, unending swathes of bronze and yellow, turnips and pumpkins, faces glowing, unusual costumes and a cheery hello, mother's warning, fewer sweets, more fruits, no homework today, just Halloween pursuits. That poem was published in Jewel Coast magazine about 5 years ago, I think.
Oh, neat.
Just got the one poem today.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, well, Patrice, I just want to say welcome. And I did see you sneak in, and I didn't greet you because somebody else was doing stuff, but hi, I'm glad to have you. She's also a Hawaiian poet, which is right? Isn't that right? You're from Hawaii? Yeah. Okay, Abby Kaplan, you're next. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, thank you. So I'm in San Francisco on a very foggy day. And I'm going to read a pantoum that I wrote last year about an experience waiting in a parking lot for a parking space. A big man in his van. A big man sits behind the wheel, bites into a sandwich, pries open a box of biscuits, and offers them to his dogs. Yes, he nods to the waiting Prius. I'm leaving soon. Then picks food matter from his teeth with his fingernail. Rustles the box of biscuits, feeds the terrier by hand, folds his jacket and arranges it on the seat. Sweeps his molars with his pinky, tasting the sandwich, ignores the couple waiting in their Prius. He picks up the jacket, shakes it out, refolds it, ignores the questioning beep, still leaving, ignores the couple waiting in their Prius, pops open a can of Diet Coke, nods again, ignores another questioning beep, still leaving, the Prius inching forward, still waiting. He's guzzling the Diet Coke, nodding again, opening a paper napkin, checking each dog's ears. The Prius inching closer, still waiting. Onlookers watch an old woman emerge from the Prius. He's inspecting the dog's ears. A white napkin sits on the dash. With trekking poles like long antennae, she limps towards him. Everyone's watching the old woman from the Prius, a straw-hatted giant roach, anonymous and bug-eyed shades, her walking poles like long antennae. She limps to his van and screams at him through his open window. He curses back. A straw-hatted giant roach, anonymous and bug-eyed shades, a big man sitting behind his wheel, biting into a sandwich. She screams and screams. He hurries to start his engine. Yes, she nods to the waiting Prius. He's leaving soon. That's it. Let's see, I do have another one I can read. This one was
Did we-
published. Oh,
Did we publish that?
Yes, we did. I think, yeah.
And I'm just thinking. I know that poem, but I can't place what issue it was in.
Just the recent one.
Oh, is it? That's why it's so fresh in my memory. Okay.
Yeah. And this one's from Catamaran from a few years ago. After visiting a really wonderful workshop called Fish Trap, a writer's workshop in Northeast Oregon. And it's at Wallowa Lake. So this is called Wallowa Lake Tramway, Oregon. Yesterday, a gondola carried me 4,000 feet to the top of Mount Howard. I wondered how it would feel to fall if the bucket's hold were to fail and fall hundreds of feet to crash in the white pines. At the top, I passed a cafe selling pulled pork sandwiches, followed the trail past dwarfed bonsai pines, looked out over the stolen Eden. Long ropes of silver flashed in the sun across the canyon, rivers racing to the lake to smother kisses at the edge of old Chief Joseph's burial site. A silky chipmunk posed for me, and I took its picture. On the warm, bare peak, I rested in a startling whirl of white butterflies. Sorry, it's not written here. Okay. White butterflies, just me and the fluttering, the quilted farmland, blue lake, melting mountains. I pressed a hole the size of my index finger into a pristine snow patch and felt ashamed. Today, 1 trillion tons of ice broke from Antarctica. That's it. Thank you.
Wow, that was so good. That startling whirl of white butterflies, those little small details. I mean, can you just see it? Can really just see that. That's just great. Very, very well done. Thank you for coming today. I hope that now that you have enjoyed you'll come back many more times. Edward Ahern, please.
Hi, I had my Moderna booster yesterday, so if I
Mhm.
drool, be kind. The first poem is a Halloween poem. It's running this week in Bewildering Stories. It's called A Bad End. Veggie rot, halitosis, and candle phlegm. Knife to death and afterlife decay. Not a fitting end for a king of gourds. I could have been a pie or toasted seeds, or morphed into a pumpkin spice. But no, I faced the dirty shoes of urchins, grinning like an idiot.
just
And-
one moment while I allow someone to come in, and then we'll
Sure.
go to your second one. I'm sorry.
No.
It was such a startling beginning to that poem. That was great. I was like, whoa. Coming off that quiet nature sort of sweetness of Abby's poem, and then all of a sudden, whammo. That was great. Just let him get seated. He's his
No problem.
computer's still connecting.
You may have to start over, go out and come back in.
All right. Well, go ahead and let's move on to your second one, and we'll just
Okay.
we'll play it by ear here.
Second one has the distinction of being recent. It's called Rara Aves. I never envisioned myself as old. Older, yes, slightly, better off and wiser, but with intact body and mind. Death, when imagined at all, was an idyllic transfiguration. Looking back, I wouldn't change who I was, nor, most often, what I did and to whom, nor even my unwitting self-hurtings. But I would whisper in my ear when it was still fringed by light brown hair. Lick the blood from the hurts done you. Curl your tongue around the spit of kisses. Let harsh words stab your eardrums. Welcome the torn ache of stressed muscles. But I know I wouldn't be listening.
Good tension and release in that piece. I like the speed of that, how it kind of picked up and then, oh yeah, he dropped out. I hope he comes back. All right, Dennis Malsby.
Hi, Glenn, this first one is, I think, fits with your earlier remarks about the things that people leave behind.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if we're going to try to share it.
Yeah, screen sharing is on for everyone if you have a piece that you feel.
Well, it's not, I'm not going to get it up. I think it's my problem, but I will read it.
Mhm.
It's called Attic Still Life. Puff sleeves festooned with dust ribbons. A dress's low-cut décolletage exposes mold-spotted breasts of a seamstress's dummy. Hip bows adorning the ankle-length ivory-faded gown hang limp. Mice nest in the rags of white elbow-length gloves. Spider crochet fills peep-toe shoes. In a gold-framed, brown-tinted photo, grandfather and grandmother hold hands before a ship's captain. That was Attic Still Life. The second one is probably fits reasonably well with Halloween. It's a poem written in the style of Edgar Lee Masters' Spoon River Anthology. And if you're familiar with that, the ghosts rise from their graves and give an auto epitaph. They talk about their lives or various aspects of their lives. This is one that my Irish ancestors had their effect on. And the poems are titled with the names of the people. This one is Paddy Morgan. Me ma and da found a safe home in Spoon River, fleeing from the famine. They bound me to the wild songs of old Aaron. I became your fiddler man and called up the magic of the dance. Well now, you hired me when you wanted your spirits to soar. Me fiddle made your feet flash. All the lasses' petticoats spinning out like flowers blooming. Their petals, blue, ivory, and peach. Twists of lilac, women's scent, drifted in the air, spun off golden skin by the dance's heat. A bit of poteen to quench me thirst, and me bulwark dazzled your eyes. Faster, faster, heel and toe, polishing the wood floor with your souls, and your souls with whoops of joy. Then came a day of darkness and silence. He buried me with me fiddle and bow. Jesus, I wish I could play again. And that was published in my first book of poetry by Near Death, Near Life, published by Prolific Press.
Prolific Press. Yes, I remember. I revisited that not very long ago. Sometimes I just grab something, I flip through it, you know how it is. Yeah, those poems, those personal poems, it almost goes to that sort of Greek chorus kind of thing where you're getting these different voices in, but really, really nice. All
Yeah,
right.
the interesting thing about the book is that sometimes you had two different ghosts talking about the same thing, and they didn't agree on the story.
Right, exactly. KB Ballantyne is next.
All right. Hello from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Chattanooga.
My first poem that I'm going to read was published in 3-Line Poetry issue 57, so it's quite fresh. Mud pools the yard, grass defeated. A squirrel whiskers the limb of an oak, flings itself into the gray void. And I'll read that one again. Mud pools the yard, grass defeated. A squirrel whiskers the limb of an oak, flings itself into the gray void. It's quite appropriate for me today too. Somebody said they woke up to fog. I think that was our California person. I'm sitting in a mountain cloud of fog myself. The second poem I'm going to read comes from my recently released book called Edge of the Echo. And though we're still one day away from Halloween or Samhain, or as this poem is titled, All Souls Night, I'll read it. The veil thins, shreds. The dead and living will mingle this night. Light shrivels, shadows staking claims. Sea grumbles in the distance, air surging salt in winter, gulls quarreling their way home. Inland, crab apples wither where they fall, a few leathered leaves hinged to bearing branches. No black cats, specters, or formless mist will keep me in tonight. Too long since I last breathed you. Thank you.
Very nice. I got somebody coming in, so just a moment, please. Okay. Sin Kitchen Fitch, can you give me the name that you use for publishing, or is that what you're using?
I use Sin Kitchen.
Okay, Sin Kitchen. We'll stay with that. Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for coming. James Bethel.
Unmuted. Yay, there we go.
There you go. Hi, James.
Hi. Sometime in my past, seems like forever, I spent a goodly amount of time in Maine on an island off Portland Peaks, P-E-A-K-S. And it had moments of spookiness around it. And it was a period in which I got started a collection of poems. I'm still writing them and putting them together in a collection called Halloween Songs. And it's searching for a publisher at the moment. At any rate, I have two poems that I've pulled from that, one of which was published this last time round in Poetry Quarterly. At any rate, wrapped in a witch dreaming. This long fall sings Halloween songs to the witch of November who sleeps yet. Dreaming of death, she wonders at the sensation of awakening. You can hear her there, breathing whispers of last leaves falling through pine. Enchantment by gray-green fog breath, storm-tossed, yellow maple high tide commuters awaiting the ferry chatter, confused by the sudden rush of midday warmth. The air, sticky with every conceivable thing, enshrouds a still hopeful mother peering into the crowd for the child who has yet to discover she is missing. Exactly 1/2 mile away, island young spruce stand in a sacred circle beneath a sentinel, like school children, wrapped in their listening to some Sleepy Hollow legend. And this one is the one that was recently published in Poetry Quarterly in the summer edition, came out exactly at the right time to celebrate fall. And the poem actually carries a title that's kind of consonant with everything, called Eventually October Sunday. Writing, dreaming of somewhere else this bar becomes entirely too real. Laughter mates with familiar paper, wet napkins, depression, and the onset of winter. Last leaves from the only oak let go at the quick, soggy effusions from some witch's fingernails, flying past the window like words in Halloween songs in the minds of goblin dwarves. Thanks, appreciate you guys.
Thank you. I just, those storytelling poems are just great too. All right, we are going to move on to Robert Whalen.
Thank you. Mary, the headless horseman of Ireland is Dullahan, and that's also used as the source for the headless horseman in American literature. So there's a lot of connection between pumpkins and turnips. So with that in mind, this one kind of goes with Halloween and Samhain. It's called Shawnee. Fate's sundown is slowly approaching. Eve's shadow will merge into nightfall. The universe begins its encroaching, with dreamscapes becoming like recall. The Shawnee and Brehons inhabit the lands. Philly and mystics prophesize. Dark caverns are painted by fumbling hands, where philosophers seek with dark eyes. The province of vision belongs to the bard, whose knowledge is beyond most folks' ken. That gift is also a journey most hard, blurring the difference between now and then. Time is the tunnel that travels through space, where mummers and shaman are guides. Masks and persona reveal one's true face, and lamps seek the void where truth hides. The soul is a deep and perpetual sea that is lifted aloft by some wind, which skims across the surface of what seems to be, then to reign over the peaks of the mind. It starts in a place where it thinks it belongs. Poets exalt it while singing its name, and lands in a place where they sing different songs, not knowing the sea is the same. These insights are puddles reflecting the sky, professing to hold its expanse, a moment's observance by a singular eye, an awareness existing by chance. Thank you.
Okay, is that it for you? Just the one today. That's really, really nice. Thank you for that. That kind of cadence, and it's not easy to get so well balanced. That's very, very well done. I think a lot of people think that they're going to have some rhyme, that it's going to act as a crutch. It's going to make things easier because they have a great grasp of the English language. And a lot of things rhyme, but really, it's like any other constraint, kind of makes things more difficult sometimes to do it very well. And things like that really stand out, Robert. So
That's always the worry. So thank you for that.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I think that the measure I use as an editor sometimes is, would it ring the same if other words were used? I mean, were the words so deliberate as some other word choice would change the meaning of the poem, or it wouldn't stand up? And definitely, I could see that in your work. Okay, Linda, you have to unmute.
Hi, this is Linda Imbler from Wichita, Kansas, and I'm going to read two poems. The first one hasn't been published anywhere. I'm still playing with it. You know, Halloween's the time for a lot of superstition. So this poem, I'm kind of addressing a superstition. It's called The Bone Shop. Collectors lurch up a set of narrow, dark stairs. Within their chest, they feel a hot wave of desire to procure one or more of these vendibles. Their stark sensations skeletons feel without their former cover. The body's framework on display, now deposed from the seats of the wealthy only by death. These were not the fallen, nor the ignored. These were those who walked grand halls in affluent mansions, once dressed in satin, who strode carrying sapphire handbags and pearl-handled walking sticks. Enthusiasts can spend one whole evening sifting through skulls upon which sits the sweetness of vanity. Shoppers can spend one whole evening scrutinizing the singular beauty of various limbs to find the best rarities. Some hobbyists prefer scrounging through the grouped league of broken parts in a bin, considering the detailing of fatigue for the older bones, all evaluating the incontestable beauty of the eggshell and alabaster surfaces, hoping the ownership of at least one item may bring a bit of luck toward accruing their own prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Good luck to them. May they find wealth.
And luck.
Okay.
Good verisimilitude in that. Those little details really make it sing very nice.
Thank you. This next one, I'm going to read an atonement for that one. This is called The Tears That Flew Me Home. And this is new too, and it hasn't been published anywhere. While I was across the ocean, a golden bird I saw. To that one bird's voice were added many. The cacophony caused within me such little effect. Yet when I heard the nightingale's lamentable tone, so powerful, so beautiful, so sudden a change came. No flaxen wings sit upon the body of this bird, brown and hidden in the night. His melody, the only evidence he exists. He gets a frozen bill after finding his mate, but his song continues to speak to me, and the feeling of what I missed most sat upon my lashes. There is no such bird in my country, only the memory of the tears that flew me back home. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think that poem's ready. That was really nice.
Well, thank you.
Moments of assonance in there really bring that out. It's just very nice.
Thank you.
Not quite a musicality so much as it just this sort of comfortable, the way the words meld into one another and you get these little clashes. It's really nice. I think you did a great job on that, Linda.
Thank you.
All right, Sean O'Connor.
Hi everyone, greetings from Ireland. Nice to see you all again. Thank you for having me. I always read work in progress, unpublished anywhere here, and I'm happy to say that I always make changes after reading them here. And so far, everything I've read has been published since, which is quite remarkable in itself. So let's hope this one, first one, makes it through the loops. So no doubt I'll be changing it after this reading, but we'll try this. You need to know that the Miljeshka is a river in Sarajevo, as in the siege of Sarajevo. And this is called Soft. It's a high bun. I always read high bun, sorry. So Soft. By the banks of the Miljeshka, as we run for cover, I hear, among the cracking shots, a shattering of bone nearby, and, from the corner of my eye, the folding of a woman's body to the ground, without a sound. By the banks of the Miljeshka, we converge, seeking the safety of a shade of a concrete wall, too soft for comfort, but high enough for hope. Together we crouch and cower. By the banks of the Miljeshka, she lies there silent, yards from where we squat, in a haze of screams and shouts, and the squeals of skids, tires, in shrieks and cries and sounds, all punctuated, beside the banks of the Miljeshka, by that perfunctory force of sniper rounds. Midday heat, with death in all directions, soft the sound of water. Thank you very much. And for the first time, I'm going to read something that is published, actually. So this is my latest collection called Fragmentation. It's to be launched in 2 weeks' time, actually. So hopefully that'll go well too. This Fragmentation is a series of haibun about my relationship with my father, and since he was diagnosed with dementia 3 years ago, and he lives in a dementia unit ever since. And it's also about the fragmentation of memory, the dynamics of memory. So this is a piece called Another Matter from this collection. It is a month since I've seen my father, since all visits to nursing homes were stopped, so, since almost everything has stopped. Every day the death toll rises, and many are in nursing homes, including his. By telephone, he talks of his concerns. There are new guards here, but he's not afraid of them. He even speaks to them. They're okay, he says, but they won't let me out. Sometimes he says the world will end soon, that a tidal wave will come up the canal and we'll wake up covered in water, drowned in our beds. He's wrong about the canal. The nearest one is 50 miles away, but the tidal wave, that's another matter. Anxious times, the cries of newborn lambs throughout the night. Thank you very much.
Wow, both of those had such strong endings. You know, as poets, I think this is a group here that can understand this better than most people in general. But, you know, you watch the news and you kind of put up these barriers because you can't let yourself just feel every bad thing in the world. You have to sort of constantly protect yourself, protect your heart a little from, you know, the things that you see and that you hear. Otherwise, you know, it would just be a very, very difficult world to navigate around. And so when I read poetry, sometimes I'll stop and I'll tell myself, it's a weird exercise, but I'm going to allow myself to feel this, you know, so that when I read the words, I'm not buffering, I'm not putting up walls, I'm trying to interact with the writer or feel what the writer means. And that first poem, Sean, was just this, it just built and built and built, and I felt it. And then there's that soft water release at the end, and it just, I could almost feel the tension just roll out of me when you at the end of that. Does everybody else feel that? That was great. That, I just gotta say, I mean, I always say a lot of positive things, I think, but that's because we have such a good group. That was great. I felt that. Thank you for that so much. I really enjoyed that piece. I'm sure I'll go back and listen to it many times.
But thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Francis.
Good day, all. I'm here in Sparks, Nevada, and happy to see you all again. Prior to the pandemic, I spent almost half my time in the Philippines, and so I have a lot of connections there. And a couple of weeks ago, I found that a family that I know very well lost 3 sisters to COVID within a 10-day period. And so, no ventilators, intermittent oxygen. So it kind of turned my mind to the Philippines and the third world. And so I've picked out a poem that I wrote several years ago. It's in Tempered Rooms. It's called Manila Rising. And keep in mind, if you have any Filipino friends, you know that food is a focal point of the culture. So Manila Rising. Manila is an assault on the senses. The streets squirm in squalor in the pre-dawn light. The pearl of the Pacific lies elsewhere. Here is the living landfill of third world reality. Hovels stretch for mile upon mile of decay and trash. Patchwork sheds and shanties of discarded scraps of wood and metal speak to the ingenuity and poverty of the masses. Half-naked men stretch in the gaping doorways. Elderly women attack the clutter with stick brooms and resolve. Occasionally, a park appears as a small green island in a sea of filth. The streets are occupied from curb to curb and beyond. Cars, trucks, trikes, motor scooters, bicycles, and horses compete for every inch of pavement. Here and there, the pungent smell of sewer gas wafts from broken trenches. The squalor of pervasive poverty is only a setting for a more nuanced existence. As the day brightens, the mabuhay spirit of the Filipino holds sway. It courses through the growing throng in the streets and squares. This is a community held together by optimism, goodwill, and hard work. Flower vendors released a fragrance of 1,000 bouquets into the morning air. In this chaos of the foul and sweet, food is the foundation of a sense of place. Risking life and limb, vendors selling water, nuts, chips, and dried fruit walk within the bedlam of ever-shifting vehicles. Vendors with bicycles, carts, and handheld trays purvey balut, fish balls, and lumpia, and scores of other specialties. For the very poor, there's always skewers of barbecue chicken intestines and pork belly. Along the sidewalks, restaurants and small eateries compete with sidewalk tables, stalls, and barbecues to satisfy the early morning hunger of the masses. The aromas of adobo, lechon, kawali, sisig, crispy pata, chicken insal, and patsa bleed with the fragrance of flowers and the shifting scent of sewage. And everywhere there is rice, the staple of the Pinoy and the bedrock of all cuisine. There are no breakfast, lunch, or dinner foods here, just food. Here in the teeming streets and alleyways, everyone knows what time it is. It's time to eat. Thank you.
Nice. All right. Did you have another one?
No, just the one. It was a longer one.
Okay. These poems about in my, I don't know if you can see this, my burnt umber book that I wrote. The thought that I had a piece in there that was similar that I wanted to share, but it's not in that one. Okay, Peter Yaremko.
Good morning. I'd like to read 2 relatively short new poems that I wrote. The first one is called Revelation 3:20. His hair drips with the dew of morning as he taps. He's lusted all night, my swain, beckoned me unbeknownst as I slept. Any lover seeking completion raps roughly, boned knuckles on renitent oak, but not mine. This suitor won't wake me. He wants me woke, waiting, or move on. As he desires, only then deign to enter, only then endure his awful love. And the other one, it's not a haiku. It's 6 lines of 6 syllables each. turned out that way, and I call it transfiguration. Silence in which to hear, shadow lights the hidden, mirror reflecting naught. Do you want me to read that a second time?
Yes, please.
Silence in which to hear, shadow lights the hidden, mirror reflecting naught.
All right, thank you very much. Just kind of give people a heads up where we're headed here. Lee, Hudspeth, Joanne, forgive me if I get this wrong, Fablo, Bob Moreland, Patrice Wilson, Harris Coverly, and Sin Kitchen. That's the order in which we're going. It's Alfano, right? Alfano. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Sorry, when people come in,
I'm sorry. I couldn't get me
furiously
unmuted,
scribbling.
but you got it.
That's fine. As participants come in, I am hurriedly scribbling, and then I'm at the mercy of my own handwriting later on. It's a lost art, writing well by hand. All right, Lee.
Hi, Glenn. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Lee.
So this is my second participation, and perhaps this is a naive question, but just to respect everyone's sensibility, this poem, I work very hard to not use profanity. And this poem contains one profane term, which is a variation, God and a curse. If anyone would prefer that I read another poem, that's fine. So I didn't know what I felt better to err on the side of caution and ask first.
I'm disappointed that there's only one.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I don't think there's a problem with that. Most poets are used to that. I mean, generally the consensus from editorial perspective is it necessary? And so let's go ahead. You have two of them today?
I have one poem.
Okay, let's
today.
have it.
This is from my self-published book, Incandescent Visions, and the poem is titled Backward. Pumping gas in my car, I see a woman on a bicycle on the sidewalk of a bustling city street in front of the gas station. She pedals slowly backward and comes to a stop. Then she pedals forward and waits. She repeats herself as if pacing, like the sidewalk is her carpeted hallway for forgetting. In one hand, a cigarette, an iced tea in the other. All the while pedaling backward, trying to stay balanced, not so well. I'm not always so well balanced either. A large handbag hangs precariously over her shoulder. Socks, but no shoes. She is very sunburned. Where has she been today? Where is she going? Her movements seem counterproductive. Who am I to say? How did these patterns develop? Is today my lucky day? I can't move, but she does. Eventually, she pedals off into the distance, swallowed up by the oblivious traffic. What is her life story? Where are her shoes, God damn it?
Thank you. Thank you for that. Joe, so let's see here. Joanne, you're next today.
Okay. Thank you. And this is my first time here. And I keep thinking that someday I am going to read a poem that has handwritten scratching all over the typed words, because like somebody said earlier, I'll still be working on this 10 years from now. This one is called Windows. Splashes of flowery color line the walkway. Every conceivable color for every event and emotion. I make a footpath one of many through this garden, and head for a shed just a few yards away. He freezes and faces me, a feral animal ready to pounce, hungry and vicious. I look, but find no turning back. I capture my scent from the surrounding flowers and hide in dark blues and purples of a night sky. A quantum of time presents endless fear and courage, and we separate. I keep walking, for I know nothing else. I breathe, eat, sleep, and walk flowers now, while feral animals lurk in the underside of my brain. Another day, a riot of colors greet me as I take a similar path through the garden. Another growling, hissing animal bears its claws at me. Day after day, animals, colors, I face life's remaining challenges: to live abundantly, to walk through the garden, and to confront the animal that waits. Thank you. And I do have one other, if you don't mind. This is called Running on Fumes. The car lurches forward, then suddenly stops in a rage of brakes. My fingers freeze on the steering wheel, and the seatbelt catches the rest of me. What's left of the windshield frames a full moon. The door catches at first, then yields to iron and glass. I cross that boundary into the world of others who are also bruised, broken, and dented. We stand, each one clearing our thoughts, claiming our faults, each one of us taking blame for the accident that has now burgeoned beyond a few cars into a long, solid jam. With a relentless need to move on, I slam the door behind me and face a long night.
Very nice, very nice. And thank you. I'm so glad that you came. I hope you come many more times. That first poem, it was a little heavy on the I at the top, and then so it was I this, I that, and then colors, and then the animals, and then there's this juxtaposition between the I and the colors and the I and the animals, and then at the end when you sort of sum it up, and it's this coexistence. I am here, I'm living in the middle of all of this. It really pulled it together for me, and I felt it was really strong. I enjoyed that. So it's not easy to strike that balance. And then the second one, instead of the I, it was we. You just brought us along with you, and that was nice too. Thank you, Joanne. We appreciate that, and I hope you come back again and again. Bob Moreland.
Having a few internet things, I'm going to hope we manage to get through. November 10th is the birthday of the Marine Corps, but it's also Edmund Fitzgerald Day. This poem is called Witch of November. I'm from Pleasant Prairie. I live near that body of water. Witch of November. The storm blows up quickly off the Great Lake. Waves peaking 4 and 5 feet crash the shore. Daylight fades on this late fall afternoon, darkness bringing with it the full-blown gale. Hear the roar of 1,000 waves as one striking the granite. It permeates the walls, rattling the panes, stirs fear in the soul. Parka clad and gloved, the man struggles down the gravel road to see the snow flurries dancing in time in a lone mercury light. The tempest is rising, snow blown with spray. He stands alone above the breakwater. To the north, Kenosha Harbor fades in and out of view. Farther, Racine obscured, wind point light, warning of the reef beyond. Temperatures plummeting, gusting wind chill now near zero as waves toss ice daggers born on a demonic northeast wind. 3 weeks ago, Indian summer's kiss held promise for all who have known puppy love. 46 years ago, the Fitzgerald faced the crone, technology vaunted and broken submerged, crew gone without a trace. Storm twice this bad. The witch is stealing tonight, whether prideful boater caught unaware or lovelorn starry-eyed mate who waited a bit too long to turn back towards home. And if you look on my Facebook page, we've had a northeast wind for the last 4 or 5 days. We've had some 7, 8s, and 10s, and the lake has been active.
Yeah, whitewater. I don't think people realize that you still get whitecaps out there on the Great Lakes.
It's a scary body of water.
Yeah.
My second one's short and will hopefully kindle a few memories. Friday night lights. Smoke smell of leaves in the autumn air means it's now high school football season. We cheer our small town giants, 1 and 3, for spirit. 36 of us were the band. Faithfully, we play the outdated fight song, halftime shows sparse with our 30+ souls, 3 majorettes and a proud drum major. After the first half, it was our time to shine. Loaded on the old yellow school buses, we traveled the northeast part of the state. We sang ourselves hoarse on the way, school songs, the best of times. We didn't know it then. 5 decades fade, burning leaves on the wind, the smell of fall. We yell for the hometown team. The band marches. Young men collide with groans. 4th quarter. Hope for the score to win again. Thank you.
That's nice. That's a nice light poem too. All right. All the way from beautiful Hawaii, Patrice Wilson. Yeah. You have to unmute yourself, Patrice.
I got it. I can't follow that introduction very well. But anyway, thank you. I have 2. One is a haiku that you published in the 50 haikus, I think it was sometime this year. And the other is, well, I'll tell you about that when I get to it. And here's the first one. Hawaii flowers. Birds of paradise, strong colors but no fragrance. Islands, strange puzzle. And one more time. Hawaii flowers. Birds of paradise, strong colors but no fragrance. Islands, strange puzzle.
Yes, very nice.
Thank you. And then I wrote this for Halloween, and I have been working with, or trying to work with, the haiku form. I have, this poem is actually 6 haiku stanzas, and I just call it 6 haiku stanzas for Halloween. That's, I just wrote it, so I don't know if there's a better title, but here we go. It's supposed to be scary, but we'll see. 6 haiku stanzas for Halloween. Brittle leaves burning in noonday sun. Smoke evolves into late night ghosts. Your rough old stairs creak inside your somber dwelling. You wake smelling smoke. Someone screams. You don't know who it is. Then a laugh like a mad witch's rips through crackling sounds. It's true. Your house blazes loud, flames engulf your door. At the window now, it's 2 high stories straight down. You climb out, you jump. It's Halloween night. These 3 words flash in your head. Then nothing but dark. So,
Woo! Yes, thank you. Everybody's getting in the Halloween spirit of things. That's exciting. Okay, Harris, are you still here? I think he might have dropped in and out. Nope, I think we lost one. Okay, I'm going to finish with Sin Kitchen, and I think everyone has read. Are you here, Sin Kitchen?
I am. Thank you, Glenn.
There you are.
I'm very sorry I was so grossly late.
Oh, it's okay.
I have 2 short poems that I'd like to read, both of which come from my collection, Broken Hallelujah, which I am currently shopping. The first one did not appear in Glenn in the issue that you published, but the second one did. I lost both of my parents within the last couple of years, so this touches on each of them. This first one is titled Returning Home After Word That Mom Has Died. Praise the rolling Nebraska hills, rocking the window of this long silver train, distant steeple framed against a high white sky any given Monday. Brown pasture scrub pocked, fingers of bare trees arthritic reach, dirt road stretching into nothing, pools of gray March ices muted mirror. Armando blasts from the intercom, breakfast is served in the dining car, but my appetite, like that mirror, swallows light. I see a doe, stock still among the trees, watching us pass as if in search. It's me, I mouth, fingers to the glass, but before she sees me, we're gone. I also forgot to mention that I'm quite landlocked in the Midwest in Illinois. And a lot of my work tends to reflect that landscape. This second poem is titled Crossing. Behind Grandma's house, Dad threw a plank over the ditch that in springtime ran deep and fast with muddy rainwater spat from a culvert buried under Van Buren Street. Crossing that bridge terrified me for threat of being carried away on the torrent, but it was over there in the open field behind Miss Norman's trailer where Dad strung a kite to set sail upon the high March winds. My heart galloped from its cage as I braved one worn sneaker in front of the other and made it by grace to the other side. Last summer, after visiting Dad in the home, I drove down Van Buren to see the old place on my way out of town, only to realize the ditch had filled in with the years, and that old bridge, the one I thought I'd never survive, has long since returned to wherever it was from.
Well, the setting, you do that so well. The setting personifies the poem. I mean, it just says so much, that's not easy to do. And you address a lot of things in your poetry that you don't hit head on. I can see that in those breaks between different settings, and it makes me want to read more. So to your credit,
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you.
you are actually in the zone. Okay, a couple things I want to say before we all break off here. I know that some of you have been sending me invitations to attend your poetry readings and your events and other things. And I can't always make those. And I hope you understand that. But please don't stop inviting me, because the day may come around that I would very much enjoy popping in and participating in your things. Nobody really plugged their book other than The Edge of the Echo from KB Ballantyne. Feel free to do that. I think Dennis mentioned his book, but when you come to these things, give us a clue so we can go and learn a little bit more about you. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording, and I think we're almost there. If you do want to submit to Poetry Quarterly for this next issue, I'm closing that in 2 days. So on the 1st of November is the last day for that, if that means anything. Give me just a minute here to stop there.